So, this guy is Abraham Shakespeare, a regular Florida guy who worked as a day laborer, buys a lottery ticket on a whim in 2006. The next day, he checks his ticket, and bingo, he's the proud winner of $30 million. So what does he do? Well, Shakespeare, who had never exactly been swimming in cash, starts by helping out his family and friends. This man had a big heart, and pretty soon, he's dishing out loans left and right. But as his generosity grew, so did the line of people with their hands out, and soon, it seemed like everyone was asking him for a small favor. At this point, Shakespeare's life should have been golden. But by 2008, the money was draining fast, and he felt overwhelmed by all the requests. Enter Doris Dee Dee Moore. Dee Dee was a self-proclaimed financial advisor who made a huge first impression. She was all, "Let me help you, Abraham. You're being taken advantage of." She swoops in, playing the hero, offering to organize his finances and manage the people constantly asking him for cash. Sounds like the perfect solution, right? Spoiler alert, it absolutely wasn't. Dee Dee had her own ideas about financial management. She convinced Abraham to sign over his assets to her, including his home and remaining bank accounts, all while giving him a modest allowance. And sure, that sounds super suspicious now, but at the time, she was persuasive, making him think she was just looking out for him. By early 2009, Dee Dee had control of nearly everything Shakespeare owned. Now here's where things start getting really suspicious. Abraham just vanishes. According to Dee Dee, he decided he was done with the stress of being rich and dealing with people asking him for money, so he left town for good. Every time someone asked her about Abraham's whereabouts, she had a new story ready. "Oh, he's on a beach in the Caribbean," she'd say. Or, "He ran off with a new lady, doesn't want to be bothered." She even went as far as sending texts from Abraham's phone to his family. But there was a big problem. Abraham was illiterate. His family knew he couldn't write well, so these perfectly spelled messages were a huge red flag. And by November 2009, Shakespeare's family wasn't buying it, and they filed a missing persons report. Police immediately zoomed in on Dee Dee, and they quickly noticed some, let's say, suspicious behavior. Not only had she taken control of his finances, but she was also doing her best to keep up the ruse that he was still alive. She went as far as hiring Greg Smith, a mutual friend of Shakespeare's, to call his mom pretending to be him, saying, "Hey, just calling to say I'm fine, don't worry about me." Needless to say, this didn't fool anyone. Eventually, Smith became a key informant for the police, and they set up a sting operation with him to get Dee Dee talking. So, what's Dee Dee's next move? Bribery. She promised Smith $50,000 to help her dodge the police, and she even tried to get him to help her dig up Shakespeare's body and move it somewhere else. But little did she know, the whole thing was being recorded. It was only a matter of time before she slipped up. During one conversation, Dee Dee casually hinted about the exact spot where Shakespeare might be resting, which led police to a concrete slab behind her boyfriend's house in Plant City, Florida. Lo and behold, under that slab, they found Shakespeare's remains. Turns out he'd been shot twice in the chest. After her arrest, Dee Dee tried out a whole series of wild excuses. At first, she claimed she was framed by some random drug dealers who forced her to cover up Shakespeare's murder. Then, she suggested that Shakespeare had been kidnapped and she'd tried to protect him. She even went as far as to say that his disappearance was all part of a setup to help him escape from a life he no longer wanted. At this point, her story was changing faster than anyone could keep track of. The trial itself was a media sensation. People couldn't believe that someone who seemed so helpful and caring had so ruthlessly taken advantage of Shakespeare. After hearing all the evidence, the jury didn't need much time to decide. Dee Dee Moore was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. So, what's the moral here? Winning the lottery might make you rich, but it doesn't always make you lucky. Thanks for watching, and if you're hooked on stories like this, remember to subscribe to Talescape for more.